WWE is in the middle of a creative crisis that's so obvious and so damaging that it's shocking they haven't addressed it yet. Right now, as we speak, some of the most talented wrestlers in the world are sitting in catering, watching their careers waste away while WWE's creative team produces the same formulaic, predictable, soul-crushing television that's been driving audiences away for years. What I'm about to expose will make you understand why wrestling feels so lifeless right now and why even WWE's biggest stars seem frustrated with the direction of their own company. The systematic destruction of organic storylines in favor of corporate-mandated entertainment is killing everything that makes professional wrestling special. While wrestlers are creating genuine moments and authentic connections with audiences, WWE's creative committee swoops in to sanitize, homogenize, and ultimately destroy anything that feels real or spontaneous. They're turning wrestling into a corporate product instead of the emotional storytelling medium it's supposed to be. Here's what's going to make your blood boil. WWE has more talented wrestlers than they've ever had in company history, yet their programming feels more generic and forgettable than it's been in decades. The problem isn't the performers, the problem isn't the audience, and the problem isn't the competition. The problem is a creative process that's so bureaucratic, so risk-averse, and so disconnected from what actually makes wrestling work that it's sabotaging its own success. The evidence is everywhere if you know where to look. Wrestlers who were red hot in other promotions become ice cold within months of joining WWE. Storylines that start with genuine fan investment get abandoned or butchered beyond recognition. Characters that connect with audiences get watered down until they're indistinguishable from everyone else on the roster. This isn't coincidence. This is systematic creative destruction. Right now, WWE's creative team operates like they're producing a children's television show instead of programming for a diverse audience that includes adults who understand storytelling, character development, and emotional authenticity. Every edge gets smoothed away, every controversy gets sanitized, and every genuine human moment gets focus grouped into oblivion until nothing feels real anymore. The micromanagement of promos has reached levels that would be comical if they weren't so destructive to the performers and the product. Wrestlers who could cut compelling, authentic promos in their sleep are being handed scripts written by people who have never stepped foot in a wrestling ring and don't understand what makes wrestling dialogue work. The result is television that sounds like corporate speak instead of the passionate, emotional storytelling that wrestling is supposed to deliver. Watch any promo segment from the current era and compare it to the authentic fire and genuine emotion that wrestlers displayed when they were allowed to speak from the heart. The difference is night and day, and it's not because modern wrestlers are less talented, it's because they're not allowed to be themselves. They're forced to deliver lines that sound like they were written by committee because they literally were written by committee. The storyline abandonment rate in current WWE programming is staggering and reveals a creative process that's more interested in short-term reactions than long-term storytelling. Feuds that could run for months and create genuine fan investment get dropped after a few weeks because creative has already moved on to their next idea. Characters who show potential get shuffled off to different programs before audiences have time to truly connect with them. This attention deficit approach to storytelling is destroying the foundation that wrestling is built on. The idea that actions have consequences, that conflicts develop over time, and that characters grow and change through their experiences. When nothing matters for more than a few weeks, audiences stop investing emotionally because they know whatever they're watching will be forgotten by next month. The talent hoarding that's become WWE's default strategy is creating a roster so bloated that most performers can't get meaningful television time, yet the company continues to sign new wrestlers while the ones they already have sit unused. It's like collecting baseball cards instead of building a baseball team. They're more interested in owning talent than actually utilizing it effectively. This approach is devastating for the wrestlers who join WWE expecting to showcase their abilities and build their careers. Instead, they find themselves in a system that values quantity over quality and treats performers like interchangeable assets rather than unique individuals with different skills and personalities. The result is a product that feels homogenized and lifeless despite having access to incredible talent. The international expansion efforts that WWE prioritizes make their creative problems even more obvious when you see how their programming translates to global audiences. The corporate speak promos, the formulaic storylines, and the sanitized characters don't resonate with international fans who are used to more authentic and emotionally direct storytelling approaches. Wrestling works best when it feels real, when emotions feel genuine, and when conflicts feel personal. WWE's current creative approach systematically eliminates all of these elements in favor of safe, predictable, focus-grouped entertainment that appeals to no one in particular because it's trying to appeal to everyone in general. The streaming era has created opportunities for WWE to experiment with different types of programming and storytelling approaches, yet they use these platforms to deliver more of the same corporate-approved content instead of exploring what wrestling could become with fewer creative restrictions. They have the resources and platforms to revolutionize wrestling entertainment, but they're using them to mass-produce mediocrity. The backstage stories that leak from WWE's creative meetings paint a picture of a system that's more concerned with avoiding negative reactions than creating positive ones. Instead of taking creative risks that could lead to breakthrough moments, they default to the safest possible options that minimize the chance of criticism while also minimizing the chance of creating something memorable. This risk-averse mentality is poisonous to creative endeavors because great art requires taking chances, pushing boundaries, and sometimes failing spectacularly in pursuit of something special. WWE's current approach guarantees that they'll never fail catastrophically, but it also guarantees they'll never create anything truly great. The merchandise strategy reveals another layer of how creative problems impact business results. When characters are generic and storylines are forgettable, it becomes much harder to create merchandise that fans actually want to buy. T-shirts with corporate-approved slogans don't generate the same emotional connection as items that represent authentic character moments or meaningful storyline developments. The social media engagement around WWE programming tells a story that contradicts the company's apparent creative strategy. Fans consistently respond most positively to moments that feel authentic, spontaneous, or emotionally genuine, yet WWE's programming delivers fewer and fewer of these moments as their creative process becomes more controlled and corporate. When audiences are telling you through their engagement patterns what they want to see more of, ignoring that feedback in favor of predetermined creative approaches is not just artistically misguided, it's bad business. WWE has access to more audience feedback and engagement data than any wrestling company in history, yet they seem determined to ignore what it tells them about what actually works. The comparison between WWE's current creative output and the company's most successful periods reveals just how far they've drifted from the principles that made them the dominant force in wrestling entertainment. During their peak creative periods, storylines developed organically over months or years, characters had clear motivations and personalities, and conflicts felt personal and meaningful. The current era of WWE programming feels like it's being produced by people who have studied wrestling from a corporate perspective but have never experienced the emotional connection that makes it special. They understand the mechanics of how wrestling shows are structured, but they don't understand the soul of what makes wrestling emotionally compelling. The talent development process that WWE has implemented creates wrestlers who are technically proficient but creatively stifled. Their performance centers can teach people how to execute moves safely and deliver lines convincingly, but they can't teach the kind of authentic charisma and emotional honesty that separates good wrestlers from great ones. When wrestlers arrive at WWE after developing their skills and personalities in other promotions, the creative process often strips away the unique elements that made them special in the first place. Instead of building around what made these wrestlers successful elsewhere, WWE tries to remake them in the image of their corporate vision of what a wrestler should be. The rating patterns and audience feedback around WWE programming show clear preferences for segments that feel less produced and more authentic, yet creative continues to double down on corporate-approved approaches that generate less engagement. They have objective evidence of what works, but they seem more interested in maintaining control than achieving results. The international wrestling scene provides constant examples of how different creative approaches can generate more authentic fan investment and emotional connection, yet WWE seems determined to ignore these lessons in favor of their established corporate methods. They're falling behind creatively while having more resources than any of their competitors. The streaming numbers and engagement metrics across different types of WWE content reveal clear audience preferences for programming that feels more authentic and less corporately produced, yet the main television programming continues to follow the same formulaic approaches that generate less engagement. The current roster includes wrestlers who have proven in other contexts that they can create compelling characters and tell authentic stories, yet WWE's creative process consistently diminishes these abilities rather than enhancing them. They're taking proven performers and making them less effective rather than more effective. The business implications of creative stagnation extend far beyond immediate ratings or attendance figures to long-term brand health and audience development. When creative becomes predictable and emotionally inauthentic, it becomes much harder to create new fans or maintain the interest of existing ones. The opportunity cost of WWE's current creative approach is staggering when you consider what they could accomplish with their resources and talent if they were willing to take more creative risks and trust their performers to connect authentically with audiences. The evidence is overwhelming that WWE's creative process has become their biggest obstacle to achieving their stated goals of creating compelling entertainment and building lasting fan investment. They have every resource they need to produce the best wrestling programming in history, yet their systematic approach to creativity is preventing them from reaching that potential. The solution isn't complicated. Trust the performers, let storylines develop organically, take creative risks, and prioritize emotional authenticity over corporate safety. But implementing these changes would require admitting that the current system is broken and committing to fundamental changes in how they approach creative development. The time for incremental adjustments and minor tweaks has passed. WWE's creative crisis requires wholesale changes in philosophy and approach if they want to recapture the emotional connection and cultural relevance that made wrestling special in the first place. The talent is there, the resources are there, and the audience is waiting for someone to give them a reason to care again.